Hey guys, I'm currently in the process of editing this video, and I just realized that my sound or my mic was unplugged from my desktop, so my microphone in my desktop was recording the sound. Sadly, I do not have enough time to re-record the episode, or else I totally would redo the whole thing. But next time, and this is something that's going to be fixed in the future, we're going to make sure that there are no sound errors, because sadly that has been a problem over these last 2 out of 3 times. I'm gonna have to make like a checklist or something to make sure that the sound is good and the video quality is good. I want to make sure it's a good listen for you guys. So yeah, thank you guys for understanding, and I hope even with the bad sound, you guys still enjoyed the podcast. Thank you. Hey guys, how's it going? This is Blake, back on the First and 10 podcast. We got a lot to talk about because we have been gone for a very long time. It's been about 3 weeks since my last upload, and I've just, just haven't had a lot of time to be recording episodes and making podcasts. One of the weeks I was gone for that entire week in South Carolina. My friends and I, we went to Myrtle Beach, and that was very fun. And then the other 2 weeks have just been kind of hanging out with other people as much as I can before everyone goes back to college, and summer's coming to a close. But you know what that means? Football is going to be back on. We're very excited about that. Yeah, and I thought I'd also talk about just my trip and stuff. I enjoy talking about football, but I also enjoy talking about other things as well. We drove all the way from Kansas City to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and that was on Google Maps it says it's about a 17-hour, 30-minute drive. But with the stops that we took, and also there was a lot of construction. Whenever we first Google Maps it didn't say that there was a lot of construction, so I didn't know if they had started at that point, between like when we Google Maps it and then when we actually made the drive. But it took us, and we also stopped at gas stations and just to fill up on gas, and also to change drivers. There were 6 of us, and we took 2 cars, so multiple people were driving throughout the trip, and also just the construction, and we stopped at the store before we got there as well. So all that, and it took about 23 hours to get there. And now that it's done, I'd say that it was worth it. But if I were to do it again, I would definitely fly and take a rental car. Or maybe not even take a rental car, but Uber places that I needed to go. Because really, in Myrtle Beach, everything's on. It feels like it's on one strip. You got all the resorts on the ocean and stuff, and those were really nice. The one we stayed in, we actually stayed in an Airbnb in a resort, but we were able to get all the amenities and stuff. They had a lazy river in there. Granted, it wasn't the greatest lazy river I've ever been in, but I mean, I'm not going to complain about a lazy river. They had a tiki bar, which was nice. You had beach access, which was, really all I cared about. I mean, if I'm going to go to the beach, I want access to go to the beach from where I'm staying. And, we were pretty high up, too, at our place. We were on the 14th floor, and I much prefer to have a view. I like being able to go out on the balcony and sip coffee in the morning, and, at night maybe drink some wine or sip on some cocktails, or just really whatever. But yeah, overall it was fun. We went on a sunset cruise and took a lot of pictures, and it was great fun. But with that being the last trip we're going to take this summer, besides this bachelor party I have upcoming this weekend, I'm going to be going down to Oklahoma with some friends for a bachelor party, and we're going to gamble, probably lose a lot of money. Hopefully not. Maybe we can win some money and upgrade the podcast equipment. Maybe get a green screen behind us or something. That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into some football. wanted to talk about, actually, before we get into the division that we're going to be talking about today, I wanted to talk about the new fantasy football game mode that Sleeper added. I'm a big fantasy football guy, obviously. Usually if you watch football as much as, I do, which is watching every game that you can, watching every team, keeping up with stuff, even when the games aren't on. You're thinking about it on Tuesdays after the week's over, the NFL week, that is. You tend to play fantasy football, and I'm probably in too many leagues. Last year, I was in 8 leagues. 5 of them were dynasty leagues, though. So really, all I did was just do the rookie draft, and then I managed the team throughout the season. That wasn't too difficult. But I was only in 3 redrafts last year, and it really wasn't. Obviously, 8 leagues is a lot to take care of. But this year, I'm in a total of 13. 13 leagues. That's crazy. I wonder if I am ever going to have a limit where I'm like, oh, that's too much. And then also, I'm in 2 pick'em leagues. I'm in one that's just pick the team you think's going to win. And then I'm also in a spread league, too, which I'm very excited about the spread league. I've actually planned on making episodes in regards to that. But yeah, the new game mode they added, or game mode, the new, I guess it is game mode, that they added is called Chopped. And basically, I'm pulling up the rules right now. Basically, the team that scores the least amount of points that week gets chopped from the league. You're done for the year. And all your players hit the waiver wire, and then everybody else has opportunities to go pick up those players. And I'm in an 18-man league. I usually don't like playing in bigger leagues just because I feel like it's luck at that point. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just not good enough. But I prefer like 12, 14-man leagues. But this one's an 18-man, and it makes sense just because, players are going to hit the waiver wire, and you have 1,000 fab to dispose of, basically. And, I'm really looking forward to this. A couple players I was able to get was Bijan. I drafted at the 3. So luckily I was able to get Bijan. I actually ended up accidentally missing my next 2 picks, and I'm pretty upset about it. At the 216, I ended up getting T. Higgins, and JSN was on the board, and I was really upset about that. And then at the 303, I ended up getting Terry McLaurin, which, as long as he is holdout, as long as he plays, then that'll be a good pick. But, that holdout's looking a little longer than a lot of people thought it was going to be. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy about my team. I don't think I'm going to be the first person eliminated from this league. And all in all, the good part is that even if you don't have a great draft, all you have to do is just survive that 1 week, and then if you get the other guys who gets chopped, best player, which if they get chopped, they probably don't have a great roster. You survive off of fab, so it almost feels like the fab is more important, and how you use that is more important than actually the drafting itself. Maybe if you wanted to cut it up in a percentage pie, it could be like, I'd probably say it's like 65% of your fab use, and then 35% of the drafting, because obviously that's still important. You want to draft a good team, so then you don't have to use your fab. But once you get into those later weeks and more people are getting chopped, like, you have to start spending your fab at some point. Or you could save it, I guess, and wait until nobody else has fab, and then you can use less to pick up better players. But my thing is I just don't want to risk losing, or being the worst. But like, if Bijan has a bad week, then I could be screwed. My running back 2 right now is Javonte Williams, so we don't know. He probably will be the starter for the Cowboys, but we don't even know if he's actually going to be the starter. If Jaden Blue starts doing well, and Miles Sanders, I believe, is on that team, if he, these carries can be split up anyway. So running back 2, I'm really nervous about. So maybe I'll pick up a running back 2 in the first couple weeks. But yeah, this game mode overall is fun, and I think I enjoy playing fantasy football in different ways. The only league that I'm not in is a keeper league, but I think we're actually changing one of our leagues to a keeper league, one of our redraft leagues to a keeper. So if we do end up doing that, then I will be in a keeper league. So then I'll experience all 4 types of fantasy football on Sleeper this year. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit. Let people know if you want to do a chopped league, go do it. That'll be fun. I just joined a public one on Sleeper, and it's for no money, just because I don't know how to play, and I'm not trying to put money into something I don't know how to play yet, unless it's at a casino. Then I'm there. But okay, let's start talking about today's division, which I think is going to be, if you guys watched the last episode, then you would know this already, but if you didn't, the episode, or how we're doing these, is based off of how I think the division, how bad they are. The bad divisions are going to go first. So last episode was the worst division, in my opinion, the NFC South. Today's going to be the 7th best division, or the 2nd worst, and it's going to be the AFC South. I think that what holds them back is I don't think that they have a powerhouse. So I really just don't like. But also their bottom team isn't going to be as bad as what the Saints are going to be. I feel so bad for the Saints and their fans, but they got a long rebuild coming. But yeah, so in 4th place in the AFC South, I think it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. I do not like their quarterback situation. Anthony Richardson can't even pick up a simple blitz, and as an NFL starting quarterback, or if you were drafted in the first round, if you were drafted, let's say, at the first half of the first round, or if you were drafted in the top 10 or even top 5, you should be able to pick up a blitz in a preseason game. These guys are not sending, these defensive coordinators are not, they are basic blitz packages. They're not going to show their cards. They don't want to show you what they're going to do in the regular season. So the fact that this was a simple blitz and you couldn't pick it up and now you're injured because of it, it's just the decision making. He's got all the talent in the world. I mean, his arm strength, you've seen it. Last year, week 1, he threw a 65, 70-yard bomb off his back foot right in the bucket to Alec Pierce, I think it was, for a touchdown. And that play that had the media buzzing for the entire week. That play was amazing. And then, he can't make simple passes, though, with the clean pocket if he's got it. He doesn't make great decisions, and that's what led him to get hurt. And I think his chance is over. I think he's lost his job. I don't think he's gonna. With the coaching staff and the GM also having their job at stake, I think Anthony Richardson could play again. If it were new coaches that didn't, and the GM that didn't draft him, I think that he would not have a job anymore. If they replace the coaches or the coaching staff and the GM this offseason, I don't think he'd even have a chance. These guys are just trying to protect their jobs at this point. They're trying to keep their jobs. This is their last season, and honestly, I don't think they're going to be able to keep their jobs. Especially because not only is Anthony Richardson already hurt, which also has been a problem. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. Daniel Jones isn't a much better option. I'd say he's probably a better option as of now. I mean, at least with Brian Daboll, he had that one good year. He led them into the playoffs, got a playoff win in Minnesota. So he can play, but I don't think he can play at the level that's going to be needed to. I mean, there's a reason that he got moved on from. I can't even believe it. Yeah, you could argue that that's because he got paid, way overpaid, but not. I also don't think that there's also a reason he just didn't get signed anywhere else, really, because he's either a backup or he's a bridge quarterback, and that's what I think he's going to be this year, is a bridge quarterback. I think the Colts are definitely, whenever they fire their coach whenever they fire their GM. I think they're going to use their first-round pick, which is probably going to be maybe top 5. I don't think they're going to be like a top 3, though. I still think they have enough pieces to be in contention for wins. I don't think they're going to be, I don't think they're going to like roll over and show their belly. I don't think they're going to be that bad, like the Saints bad. I guess that's the example of whenever, like the Saints, I'd say are a top 3 pick. Like I'd put money on that. For the Colts, though, I would say, safely top 10 pick in the draft, maybe top 5, something like that. They just don't really wow me anywhere besides Jonathan Taylor's really great running back. I think he's actually became kind of underrated over the last couple seasons. I know he was hurt, not last year, not 2024, but 2023 I know he got hurt. His 2022 season, I believe, was insane. Let me actually check that real quick, because that was either 2020 or 2021 where he was phenomenal. Okay, it was his 2021 season that was phenomenal. I mean, he had 1,800 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns, 40 receptions for 360 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air. I mean, dude was a beast, and he's still a beast. And, on defense, I know they signed Charvarius Ward, who didn't really have a fantastic season last year, but I wouldn't necessarily blame that on his ability. I wouldn't blame that on his ability, though. I'd say that it's, just personal issues that he had, which, God bless his heart and God bless his family. That's a tragedy that happened, and I think that this year he will be much better as at cornerback. But like they don't have the super star power, though, in my opinion, to really compete in these games with like just even above average teams. So the Colts, I just don't really see them as mainly it's their quarterback play, though. I'm very, just like most people, I'm very quarterback dependent. If you have a good quarterback, I think you'll have a good team. If you have a bad quarterback, I just don't see a way where you're going to win a lot of games this year. Think of like the bad teams in the league. Think of the Saints. I'm going to probably bash the Saints, and Saints fans are going to hate me. I'm probably going to bash the Saints in every video and use them as an example. But like the Saints, the Browns, the Colts are just 3 teams that I can think of off of the top of my head. Even like the Jets. Like, who knows how good Justin Fields is going to be? You could argue that last year, whenever he was on the Steelers, the team performed at their peak while he was playing, and he was the one holding the offense back. I had George Pickens in fantasy last year, and I wanted Russell Wilson to play a lot, and you could kind of just tell that offense opened up once he actually started playing. Russell did, at least for the first couple weeks. I think they scored back-to-back above 30-point games. And I don't think they did that under Justin Fields. If they did, it was probably because the defense set them up in great field position, or they were able to get like a pick 6, fumble 6, something like that. But quarterback play matters, and that's why I had the Colts finishing last in their division. At number 3 in the division, I'm going to have the Titans. They are a very interesting team to me this year, and I'm very excited to watch them. I think Cam Ward is the most, I don't want to say underrated first-round pick. I want to say he's not talked about. Why? This is the least amount of hype I've heard about a first-round pick ever. And I've been watching the NFL since like 2013, 2014, around there. And so over 10 years now, and there has not been a number 1 pick that I haven't even heard about. You hear more about Shedeur Sanders. You hear more who's a fifth-round quarterback this year. Obviously, he's got the name Sanders, so that makes sense why he could be talked about more. I still don't think that means you should be talked about more than the number one overall pick, though. I mean, like, you hear stuff about Abdul Carter. He was shredding his first preseason game, and then he got pancaked on a chip block, and just things like that, like, you're being talked about, and that's honestly something that I like about Cam Ward. I mean, he doesn't talk a lot. He just puts his head down, he works, and that's honestly, outside of his talent, that's probably another reason he was drafted at number one. Whenever my friends and I would talk about who would probably be the number one overall pick in like January, around there, January, February, like right as the playoffs were starting and the draft order for at least the first 20 were decided. I mean, like, I just thought, why wouldn't you take Abdul Carter and pick up a quarterback next year? But obviously the Titans really liked Cam Ward enough, and it's obviously they saw his play, but once they finally started talking to him, he's a grown-up. He kind of has that Jalen Hurts mentality where he just wants to get better every single day, and he's, the job's not finished mentality. Obviously, that's a completely different. Like, there's no one like Jalen Hurts when it comes to that, but you could compare Cam Ward to something like that, and he's got all the talent in the world. I mean, on draft night, if you were watching on ESPN, they were comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, which is like a little crazy. Like, let's calm down on that. But, the comparisons are there. I mean, he makes plays similar to him, or I guess his play style is similar to him. But, yeah, and I think they also have some good weapons. Calvin Ridley's a really underrated wide receiver one. Tony Pollard is also a very underrated running back one. I think he's going to go over for 1,000 yards this year. I think Calvin Ridley's going to go over 1,000 yards. Chigo Okonkwo is an underrated tight end. I think just that entire Titans offense is so underrated this year because of how bad Will Levis was last year, and just their quarterback play. And in the end, this is what I'm saying. This is what it circles back to. The same thing people were saying last year about the Titans is probably what it's going to be like for the previous teams that I mentioned before, because whenever you have bad quarterback play and the quarterback specifically will lose you games, you're not, like, you don't stand a chance. And the Titans were examples of that last season. So yeah, I mean, they also they don't do anything necessarily special on defense, I'd say. Their overall defensive rating, though, last year was definitely inflated by how bad the offense was. I think the defense is going to be better this year just because, like, they literally couldn't have changed. Like, they didn't have to even add any players, get rid of any bad players. They didn't have to do any of that. And if they just got better quarterback play like they did, I'd say their offense is their defense is already going to be upgraded just from getting rid of the quarterback that they had last year, because complementary football is really, it's talked about, but I don't think the importance of it is talked about enough in media. So just being able to avoid the pick sixes, avoid the unneeded turnovers, and being able to flip the field is going to help that defense so much more. So I think the defense is going to be better. I think the offense is even going to be better as well. Expect the Titans to win maybe like 4 more games. I think 7 wins is definitely. I think that's kind of a high. I think that if the Titans win 7 games this year, and I think they won 3 last year, if you double your win total, I think that's got to be a win. And as long as it, and I think even more than wins, I think Cam Ward's play is more important to the Titans right now than the win-loss record. They obviously win-loss record is going to keep people their jobs and stuff, but as long as Cam Ward looks good, I think they'll be fine. I think Joe Burrow's rookie year, before he got hurt, they were like 2-3-1 or like 2-4-1 or something. But you knew Joe Burrow is the real thing, or the real deal. Whenever before he got hurt, Jaden Daniels, he's not really a great example of this because he dominated last year. Caleb Williams showed flashes last year, but they didn't have a great record. But, and I know there's a lot of criticism of him in the media right now, but he was good enough to make Ben Johnson, the number one coach in the market this year, want to play there. He was good enough to where Bears fans believe in him this year, and he's also got the media after going like 6-11 or like 7-10, whatever their record was last year. After not having a great record, having the number one overall pick, and they won 6 or 7 games, and he was able to convince at least half the media or some of the media that he's the guy. He's got the stuff. He was able to convince the number one coach on the market that he's good. He's got the stuff. So that's really all Cam Ward needs to do, in my opinion, is just play good football. He's a gunslinger, so he's probably going to throw some unneeded interceptions, or he's going to but he'll learn. And I also think that those interceptions are going to come between weeks 1 and 5 or 1 and 7, just the first half of the season, first quarter of the season. What you should really look at is his stats at the back end of the season. I think those are going to be the more important ones. If he improves throughout the year, I think that's great. And then maybe next year, as a Titans, you should start looking at more of a playoff contender, especially because their division is not great. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I know you have C.J. Stroud, starting quarterback. He's above average quarterback. So you've got him. But, outside of that, I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't really proven besides the back end of 2022 and the early end of 2023. If you take the last 7 games of 2022 and the first 8 games or 9 games of 2023, those games he was great in, but every other game it's is this guy really worth the number one overall pick? Obviously at the time, for sure, but the expectations compared to what you're getting wasn't great with Trevor Lawrence. So basically what I'm saying is that division is still going to be wide open. I think next year, depending on how this season goes, 10 or 11 games can win you the division next year, And if the Titans make the jump from 3 wins to 7 wins this year, and then 7 wins to 11 wins, and they also have a great division record, then, that's the step in the right direction that you need to take. So go over the Titans this year, just look better, and if you win, and you will win more games. And if you're a Titans fan, do not be upset if you guys only win 7, because that is definitely going to be an improvement, and I would take that, especially if my quarterback is the real deal. If he is your guy of the future, you take that. Right. So at number 2 in the division, this is going to come as a bit of a surprise to most of you, actually. I'm sure you guys are going to pick this team to win the division. I've got the Houston Texans. I know they've won the division the past couple years, and I think this is where they don't win. I don't think they're going to be bad. I don't think that they're going to necessarily fall off or have a steep drop-off as a team. But I think this year is going to be the year where it finally bites them that they do not have a good offensive line for C.J. Stroud. Last year they didn't have a great offensive line, and they were able to kind of get away from it because of their weak division. But I just don't see this team winning their division with as bad of an offensive line that they have. They traded their best lineman to the Commanders, and they replaced. I believe they replaced him with Cam Robinson. Is that right? Let me check to make sure. Yes, that's correct. They replaced him with Cam Robinson, who isn't a terrible offensive lineman. I don't think they would just sign anybody to replace Laramie Tunsil, but he isn't Tunsil, and that's just the bottom line. I think they're really going to struggle this year. Joe Mixon is going to be out for the first couple weeks. The run game is going to be hard to get going. And they're just going to be really C.J. Stroud dependent and defense dependent. Their defense is so great. I mean, they got Derek Stingley Jr., they've got Danielle Hunter, I believe, who was fantastic last year, actually. Same thing with Derek Stingley. I think their defense is still going to be great, but it kind of goes back to the point about complementary football. I think, the defense can only do so much, and it's not even necessarily it's not even really C.J. Stroud's fault. I really just think the O-line is going to hold them back. They have great weapons. They attack the weapons in the draft, which the problem that I'm seeing, though, is, they grab 2 wide receivers in the first, 3 or 4 rounds. Why didn't you grab a lineman in the first? Actually, I think. Okay, so they grabbed 2 wide receivers in the first of their first 3 picks, and then the other pick was a lineman. I think that's good. I like that they drafted the O-line, but also I just don't understand why you would still take 2 receivers whenever you have Nico Collins, you just signed Christian Kirk to a contract, who actually is decent whenever he's playing, and I would rather have a quarterback who's protected to get the ball to maybe not so popular named wide receivers rather than have big name receivers and my quarterback not be able to even get them the ball, because not only can their offensive linemen not block for the passing game, but also for the running game too. I mean, the running game is going to be a big deal. That the play action fake isn't going to be as well. You can maybe you won't have to stack the box as much when you're playing the Texans, because you can get to them with 4. You can stop the run with just 7 players in the box. You don't have to add any more in there. You don't have to drop your safeties down. They're not going to beat you over the top. The thing is, though, the reason I still think that they are going to have a good record is everything else that they do on their team, though, is done right. The defense is great with DeMeco Ryans. The quarterback is good. I'm not going to say great. I think he took the league by storm with his rookie season. It was one of the best rookie seasons ever. I'll give him that. But, it really is surprising in the grand scheme of things how different it is to have the best rookie season of all time and then having a great season. I think of a great season is 35 touchdowns, 4,200 yards, and I believe C.J. Stroud that year had maybe mid 20 touchdowns. I'm gonna look at this. Okay, so he had 4,108 yards, which is very good. That's very good for especially rookie season. But in general, I'd consider that's only 100 yards below my, I guess, the bar for a great season in general, not even just rookie. But then 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's a great ratio. 23 touchdowns is not a lot whenever you're not talking about rookies. And then the next season, he ended up with under 4,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And I think that's because of the bad offensive line play. Also, his receivers got hurt a lot. I'm going to acknowledge that. I mean, Nico Collins got hurt. Stephon Diggs got hurt. Tank Dell got hurt. So, he just really had to carry that team on his back. And that could be the argument for him being a great quarterback, And I guess we'll see this year. Hopefully, Nico Collins can stay healthy. Hopefully, Jaden Higgins plays well. Hopefully, Jalen Noel plays well. Christian Kirk. I mean, they've got the weapons. I think that they're going to have to play a very quick game, though. I don't think that you're going to be able to run a lot of play action. I don't think you're going to be able to have the 5 to 7 step dropbacks and just launch the ball down the field, which is what Nico Collins. Nico Collins does everything well, but he is a deep ball specialist. So yeah, I think it's really going to come down to how well the O-line plays, and I don't think that they're going to play great, and I think that's what's going to lead them to around 10-7 record, even maybe 11-6. But I mean, I still don't think that's going to be enough to win the division because I just think the division is going to be better. I don't think they're going to be able to just get free wins, essentially, through that division, which before I make that statement, let me make sure they actually did good in their division last year. Okay, so they were 5-1 in their division last year, which I even think that they could go 4-2 or still a good record at 3-3. I mean, their average record, I guess. But even then, they ended up going 11-6, I believe. And if you bump it down to 3-3 in their division, then they're 9-8. So I mean, with the division being slightly better between the Jags and the Titans, I think the Texans are going to finish second, and I think really next year they'll work to improve that offensive line, and I think next year is going to be the year that the Texans, really the offseason is going to really determine a lot for me personally and what I think about the Texans, but I think next year should be a much better year for Houston. Now, obviously, the division winner, if you do process of elimination, you know who I think the division winner is going to be. This is going to be my, I guess, a hot take for the year, probably the year. I think, I mean, there's some other spicy ones in there, but this one's probably the hottest, especially since they were the number 5 overall draft pick this year. But I really like Liam Cohen. I really like what they have on offense. And I really think in this era of NFL, as long as you just have an average defense, even if you are great on offense and you have a 20-ish defense, then I think you're good. I really like what the Jags did this offseason. I mean, I like the aggression to go get Travis Hunter if you think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be great. That's what that comes down to for me. I think you can make that move if you have a great quarterback, and you think you have a great quarterback, and if you think Liam Cohen's going to bring out the best or close to the best in Trevor Lawrence, which I touched on this earlier, that one 17-game stretch in between late 2022, early 2023, Trevor Lawrence was great. I mean, I want to say, whenever I say great, I'm normally saying that they are a top 10 quarterback, and he definitely was. I'd say he was probably around that 7 range, that season. Some argued higher, some argued top 5, a little crazy for me. Some argued lower than that, outside of the top 10. But I think a good median. I think he was number 7-ish that year, maybe 8. But I think with Liam Cohen, you saw what he did with Baker Mayfield, and granted, Baker Mayfield was doing that before Liam Cohen. But whenever he was the offensive coordinator of Tampa, the offense only got better. I mean, it's not like he changed the franchise around or anything, but he definitely made the team better. I mean, you saw the production from Baker Mayfield last year was insane. Bucky Irving, Mike Evans still got his 1,000 yards after missing a bunch of games. Chris Godwin statistically, he was a top 3 receiver before he got hurt at the very end of the game that they didn't even have a chance of winning. That was honestly one of the least talked about controversial moments from last season. It was talked about a little bit. It's mainly, though, I think it was talked about because it was in prime time. It was on that Monday night. But back to the point. He knows how to get his playmakers the ball, and he knows how to use the big thing for me is the running backs. I think Travis Etienne, I don't really know what he's got left, but if he's going to have a good year or a redemption year, it's going to be with Liam Cohen. Tank Bigsby has shown flashes before. If he's going to be unlocked, it's going to be with Liam Cohen. They just drafted Bashal Tutin. He's blazing speed. He's a smaller running back, but I think Liam Cohen, again, can figure out ways to use him. Really, I just love the coach. And the fit, I think Trevor Lawrence he's got all the talent in the world. I really just think if he's going to be, how committed is he? Because there's been questions on that in the past about how committed he is to football. And I think with a new coach, and this kind of is how the thing is that I touched on with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson earlier. I don't think a coach goes somewhere, especially like this, if he doesn't think that the player has the quarterback has the potential to be great. So I'm really high on the Jags. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great season. We already know how good Brian Thomas Jr. is. We can have a pretty good guess about how good Travis Hunter is going to be, especially since he's going to be playing a lot of offense and then integrate some defensive snaps in there. I think on the depth chart right now he's wide receiver 2, and he's a second-string cornerback, which is perfectly fine. I look forward to him playing both ways. I really think that everyone out here saying that, you can't play both ways, you really don't know until someone actually does it. And then when someone actually does it, I mean, really, it's not crazy to say that you can't play both ways. I agree. But also, you didn't see a player like Shohei Ohtani play pitcher and hitting at both just elite levels. That wasn't even really thought of until he did that. And not to say that that's what Travis Hunter is going to be, but you don't know until it actually happens. And Travis Hunter's done this his entire career. I mean, I know other players have tried doing that throughout their careers and stuff, especially in high school, and it gets harder as you go into college, and then obviously into the NFL. It's much different going from playing against Big 12 cornerbacks on the offensive side and then go and play against Big 12 receivers on the other side. I mean, Alik Ayomanor burned Travis Hunter for 200-plus yards. It's going to be different going from that to he's in the South, so it's trying to cover, let's say, he's being covered by Derek Stingley Jr. On one side of the ball, and then he's got to go cover Christian Kirk, let's say, because he's not going to be the number one corner. At least right now he's not. And he's not going to be the one receiver anyways. I'm not sure if Derek Stingley travels or if he's got a side that he plays on. But that's a different level of competition. But I think if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Travis Hunter. And I don't think another reason that I believe this too is because I don't think that the Jaguars would trade the capital that they did if they didn't think they were getting the two-way player. I mean, you don't trade up to the number 2 for Travis Hunter, the wide receiver. You don't trade up to the number 2 for Travis Hunter, the corner. You trade up to number 2 for the two-way player, because in the end, if it works out the way they think it's gonna work out, and they're going to give him a shot at both sides as well. There's no way that they do not let him play both ways. They've obviously already confirmed that, but both ways starting. I think eventually, once he's got the offensive playbook down, I think then they start dialing him in on defense too. And he's proven in Colorado he can handle the playbook side. I mean, he can handle learning the offensive and defensive playbooking. Obviously, this can take time, but he'll have plenty of time. I think he'll have plenty of opportunity. I mean, overall, I think the Jags will finish with around a 11-6 record this season. I think they'll win one more game than the Texans. I think it very well could come down to the last week of the year between them. I don't know if they play in Week 18 or not. Okay, they do not play in Week 18, but here's what I like about Jacksonville. Their last 5 games are against the Colts, the Jets, the Broncos, the Colts again, and then the Titans. So, I mean, no game's easy in the NFL. That's why I don't think that whenever people talk about strength of schedule, that doesn't necessarily matter as much to me. Obviously, if you're a statistics guy, 100% statistics, that's what you go off of, then obviously that's going to matter. But I think the good teams are going to find ways to win against good teams, if that makes sense. Like the Chiefs, for example, they have had a first place schedule for the last 10 years, and they always have a tough schedule. They always have a really rough, tough stretch, but they always just win the division again. And it's the same thing with the bad teams. This is, I guess, really making the opposite point of what I'm making in having the Jags at number one, but the Jags have not really been great, especially outside of Trevor Lawrence and that one Saxonville season. The Jags haven't really been great. They've been bottom feeders. Just because you have a fourth place schedule doesn't mean you're going to win. Just because you have a first place schedule doesn't mean you're going to lose. But with me thinking that Jacksonville has improved, I think that especially those last 5 games, I think as long as they can go into that stretch 1 or 2 games behind the Texans, they could be even tied or ahead. I think that they end up winning the division just with that as well. The Broncos are definitely the hardest game on that schedule. And obviously, division games are hard too. And you probably are going to go 3-1 in those division games against those 2 guys, maybe 2-2. And then if you can beat the Broncos, you're looking at 4-1 or 3-2 at the end of that stretch, which would be great. Better than years past. And even if Jacksonville doesn't win the division this year, as long as they improve under Liam Cohen, and as long as Trevor Lawrence actually looks like the number 1 overall pick, then same thing with Cam Ward. I think it's kind of a win. Even though Trevor Lawrence is in a different situation, he's making a lot of money. I think it's still a win. But overall, the AFC South isn't going to be great this year. I think they'll be a fun watch. I think that the Titans will probably be the Jaguars are going to be my favorite watch solely because of Travis Hunter and Liam Cohen's offense. I'm so excited to see the Jaguars play. I'm pretty sure they have a few primetime games this year that I'm really looking forward to. Second most exciting team would probably be the Titans, just because of Cam Ward. He's not getting enough hype as the number 1 overall pick, but I think they'll still be a fun watch. Texans at 3. It's going to be a little rough watching C.J. Stroud be just under duress every single snap, pretty much. And then, sorry, Colts fans, hope you like Arch Manning, because he could be your quarterback. It runs in the family. Mannings have been pretty good on the Colts, so. Yeah, well, that's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I really am going to attempt to put out more content for you guys. I want to get through all these divisions before the season starts. The season's going to start here in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks is what we're looking at. So I think I can get through 6 episodes, hopefully. See how it goes. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.